Okay. As you know, this is being recorded so that you guys can enjoy the podcast at your leisure. And we don't have Wayne today, so there won't be any cursing on it. So you guys are good with that. All right? Unless you guys want to curse, I could care less.
No intro from Julie.
No intro from Julie. She'll probably pop in. We have a few new guests, and of course we will we'll hear from them because, as you know, this Get Real class is everybody makes their introduction. So I'm going to start out the same way. Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for spending Thanksgiving holiday week with me for a couple hours. I'm going to keep it short, 1 hour. But if you sorry, thank you. And this is session 5. So again, I'll start out with, why did I start the class? As you guys may or may not know, some of you know, I am a very small equity partner. I got a vested interest in the office, and you know that Keller Williams is a training company, constantly teaching. Because at the heart of this, we're all learning based, and I'm about paying it forward. I want to see everybody do well, and when you guys do well, of course, it translates to production for the office. But it also translates towards the vibe in the office when people are doing well, as opposed to when people aren't doing well. That tonality, that type of vibe also translates. So when everybody's doing better, a lot of people are happier, people are coming to the office, people are talking about business, people are encouraging people to do business, people are helping people do business. It's a much different type of environment when people are doing better. So if there is something self-serving about it, that's what it is. Okay, so as anybody knows in this class, and why people would not show up, is because we kind of go through this exercise where we talk about what we are doing personally. And it's not an exercise to berate anybody, and it's not an exercise to come down on it. It's really just an exercise to own where you're at in your life, in your profession, and basically put yourself in a starting point even today, or where you can come back in 2 weeks, because we do this class every 2 weeks, whether one person shows up or 100. And I'm sure that at this point there are people that are not showing up for a couple reasons. Number one, ownership is tough when you're not doing well. And number two, it's also becoming a podcast. It's on YouTube. You can collect this information and hear my craziness for an hour without ever stepping foot in this office. So there are ways to not attend, although I would hope that you guys would, because you can interact and you can. I always found that if I was able to come to a class and actually participate, that it was more meaningful and I got more out of it. So I'll start, and again, I'd like everybody to participate, but it's completely voluntary. So if you don't want to, you say pass, but just know this is a really strong part of being here, because if you're have nothing to say and you're just feeling like things are not going well, then the idea is that this is the starting point, and we'll see each other in 2 weeks, and maybe something will be better in 2 weeks. Anything could be better in 2 weeks. So I'll start out by just introducing myself, Jay Kapit, 16 years in it, 15 listings, 3 pending sales, and I would rate that probably somewhere around a 5 or a 6. And the reason, just so you know, the reason why next to how many listings I have / clients there is because I have a guest in the audience who's not a realtor. And so we're opening it up to people that are in different industries who also are trying to just kind of understand what this type of model is, and it's applicable outside the realm of real estate. So, anybody want to start?
My name is Daniel. It's my first day in the business, so I don't have any listings or clients or pending sales.
First day?
First day.
Wow.
Wow.
Welcome. That is about as new as you can get.
This
So-
is a great way to start. Trust me.
All right, so first day in the business. You live in Coral Springs?
Boca.
And how did you get to this office?
I got a call to come in.
Uh-huh.
I just got all my paperwork and stuff today. So
Wow. All right. So just know that you're in a really good place and you're in a really good learning environment. And no matter what anybody tells you, there's a million real estate offices. But your learning curve here will accelerate much quicker if you subscribe to wanting to get it done. So welcome. And hopefully if I see you in 2 weeks, you'll have something to tell the group. Even if it's not, you got a listing. You know, there's a lot more things. There's a lot more metrics that you can control that are going to help you. So welcome.
Can I just jump in there?
Sure.
I am at the 2 week mark, 2 weeks, so newbie, and you don't like that, I know, beginner. But I will say that the teachers and the learning environment has been so outstanding that it's changed my paradigm on how to operate business. So I'm a bit of a processing, but you know, particularly with John's tutelage, I mean, it's really changed how I'm looking at to operate
Good.
business, and it's been fantastic. So I don't have any listings yet, so I'm working on it, but I am trying to network my core point people. So see how it goes.
Okay. Anyone?
My name is Jessica Vincenti. I've been in the business for 2 weeks. I am just now trying to figure out what exactly is my niche. So I'm getting there.
Okay, so a lot of new agents, but that's good. Look, here's the bottom line, and I say this having a lot of experience working at a lot of different brokerages. If you're a new agent, this is the only place to be. Okay, it's not even a contest. Whether I was here or not, this is where you want to be, because there is no other learning culture and learning environment like this. They really focus on teaching agents how to succeed. So, who's next?
Adam Kapit. This is my awesome brother here. Keep coming to his classes. he'll let you
It's a
know.
paid political advertisement.
You endorse it though. 5.5 years in the business. One listing, one pending. Just had a closing. I'm gonna rate myself 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'll give myself a 3.
3. Wow.
Let's be real. It is called Get Real.
That is. Next.
I'll go. Scott Pagoon, been in the business for 7 years. I have 2 listings and 2 buyers, plus 2 listings plus 2 buyers I'm working with currently. My one pending sale closed on Tuesday. My rating for myself, in terms of what I have kind of active right now, I'll say, and pipeline, I'll say 8. In terms of me performing to my capability, 5.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the metric is yours. You know, you're going to own it, and you're going to be able to compare yourself week in and week out to this. So.
I say that because it's a comfy spot I'm in right now, leading into the holidays and with my closing. However, want to be real and don't want to get comfy and stay there.
Okay. Anyone else?
Michelle Tarbox, 1 month today.
A lot of anniversaries here.
Thank you. Did one rental. I have one preview appointment on a home coming shortly, and just did a for sale by owner phone call. Did a few of them today, but one in particular, which is kind of exciting. Preview's going to be Monday on a $2.3 million home.
Good.
So that's sort of exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Have no listings, but coming out of my shell. I don't know why. I just feel like I'm coming out of my shell today, so I'll rate myself a 4.
Okay. Well, so I know that the last time you were here, you were kind of expanding on that rental. Is that the rental you were talking about?
Yes.
All right. So at least it got done, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Nothing better than, when you have a closing that's really difficult and you're like right there at the goal line and you push it through.
Yes.
So congrats.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Chen Dai. I've been in and out of the business for about 5 years with different brokers.
Mm-hmm.
And just to piggyback what he said, this is the best training and coaching. Currently working with 2 buyers right now, no listings, and no pending sales. And I'll rate myself probably a 2 on the way to a 10.
All right.
Oh, I'm a 10 by 10, 10 on 10. That's great.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Anyone else? Sure.
My name's Shannon Medeiros. Today's my first day, like officially my
Wow.
first day.
Wow, this is great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where I was 16 years ago. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I came to some training on Tuesday, and then I'm back here today.
Uh-huh.
Did you
Soak
sign
it.
up?
I did.
All right.
Soak it all. Soak it all in. Soak it all in.
Yeah.
It gets a little overwhelming, so just.
Yeah, there is some of that.
But there are worse things than being overtrained.
I'm sure. Yeah. So no listings, no clients, no pending sales as of right now. Rate myself. I'm at a 1. I'm at a level 1 right now.
Okay.
Everything's
All right.
to gain. Everything's to gain.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
You want to go?
I'm Shirley Robinson. I'll be in the business 2 years in March. I have 0 listings, 0 pending sales. Rate myself as far as capability, pretty confident. I would say like an 8. Rate myself as far as what I've done this year, a 1. Very disappointed in myself. My first year, last year in the business, I had 4 closings in like 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm in the right place. I just need to focus on this business.
Okay. John, you want to?
Sure, I'll go. John Dietz, 17 years in the business, 13 years in production, sold just over 1,500 homes in that time period, listed an average of 12 to 15 homes per month during that time period. My numbers are your numbers. So I list 100 homes a month and close about 120 a month because that's what you guys do. You guys are really hard on yourself on the rate yourself on a 1 to 10, but I guess that's kind of the idea on the get real, right? So, I'm sorry, tell me your name one more time.
Mine?
Michelle, I know you.
Shannon.
Shannon, so like you're a 1, for where you should be one day on the job, you're a 10. What do you expect to achieve? You're here. So, if you would have asked me to rate myself 2 months ago, I would have said 3 or 4 as a team leader. I was failing. Even though this market center has done tremendous things, I was failing. Today, Nate.
And I would say, if I would just add to that, so just so you understand, relative to what you said and what he's saying, if I'm gonna bridge that right now, because he's bringing it from not an experience, but from a mindset. All right, your mindset. He's saying that your mindset should be, it should be a 10 because you're a new agent, and there are lots of new agents, but you're here. Okay, so relative to a new agent who's stuck in front of the MLS screen doing nothing, you're already above par. Now, your mindset, because you're rating yourself based on I have no listings and I have no business, is now you've kind of, but to be fair, the company will teach you a lot about mindset, and then you'll really be able to gauge it a lot better and be fairer on yourself going forward. Shivani, you want to say anything, or you want to pass?
Hi, I'm Shivani. I work with Jason in the gym, so I am helping him turn his 6-pack into an 8-pack right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, I'm just here to learn.
Right. So Shivani, let me just say a couple things about Shivani. Shivani, so a friend of mine owns a gym. Shivani's a great trainer there. The idea is that, part of the mindset is the idea about just health and wellness all the way through the day to feel good. I go to this place where Shivani works, and it has the identical culture to KW. You walk in, everybody's very welcoming, very encouraging. They want to see you do well. They check on you. And when I talked to Andy, a buddy of mine who is the owner, we talked about the synergies between the two companies. And now there's some crossover here where trainers are going to come in because the parallels are the same. The business is the same. Okay? So, and it's actually, I'm really glad Shivani showed up because this particular class applicable to everything. And some of you guys have heard it. Oh, I'll get back to my friend Gonzalo in a second. Some of you guys have heard it. And some of you guys are probably drowning in what this topic's going to be, but I'm still gonna just keep talking about it until it just becomes part of your everyday, every second of the day mojo. So let me just get back to Gonzalo before, and then we'll go.
Thanks. Gonzalo, almost 4 years in the business, 5 active, 3 pending, and rate 3.5.
Always a perfectionist. He's going into the decimals here.
Because I was a 3 last time.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. All right. He's moving. He's moving the needle up. All right. He's very hard on himself. Probably be a 3.6 next week. All right. So since I kind of gave you guys a hint, does anybody want to guess what today's topic is?
Mindset?
No. Close.
Health?
What?
Health?
Say it again?
Health.
No. Yeah, it's close. Don't kill me.
Uh-oh.
All right. Now, does anybody just want to try and explain, even if you're new, how important lead generation? Does everybody know what lead generation is, first of all? To all the new guys out there, 1 day, 2 weeks, Shivani, anybody, what do you think lead generation is? Just, you can blurt it out, it doesn't matter. Just whatever you think it is, I want to hear.
Creating relationships that would lead to future business.
Okay.
Putting more names and numbers into your database.
Okay. So, what do you guys think about lead generation as it relates to this job? What do you think your job is as an agent? Okay? And that's what I would expect somebody that has just started in the business to say. That's the perfect answer. Now, anybody else want to chime in?
You're a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Connection.
Huh?
Connection, connecting with people.
Okay.
Lead generate.
Lead generate. Shivani, what's the job of a trainer?
Make people feel good,
Okay.
get them healthier.
How does the trainer do that?
We find out where they're at, what their goals are, try to connect those dots.
Let's get a little bit deeper. All right. How would the trainer be able to do that?
Assessment.
But go a little bit beyond that. In order to do all that,
You gotta measure their BMI.
okay, but how do you keep going? Get to where Gonzalo is.
See what they're eating, what their diet's like.
You guys are missing. You guys are basically figuring out what every agent does, but what nobody's supposed to be doing.
Relationship.
You know, Jason, it's interesting because the answer is literally right in front of everybody
Right.
in this room.
Right.
Literally.
Right. So here's the thing. And I really need, the reason why I brought this topic back up, I can weave this topic into every single Get Real session. But I decided let's just make it the session today as we kind of tweak for 2020 because it's so important. I could probably do 30 sessions on this, okay? So here's the thing. Every answer you guys said was right. Every answer you guys said was part of what you would do day in and day out. But the whole job, the entire job, is lead generating. So just getting the business is the job. All right? Like when Shivani made a comment about what she was going to do to the client, the assumption is that there is a client. All right? There isn't a client unless you get one. Right? Everybody understands that, right?
Right.
So this is the part that's the most important part. When you walk in this office and there's 300 agents or, you know, if Alan and John and everybody has their way and we keep growing this thing, there's going to be thousands. Okay? There's a difference between what people are supposed to do and what you see people doing. All right? Now, what you see people doing is what you guys just said. Assessing, getting on the phone, talking to clients, selling houses, whatever you're going to say. All of that stuff is completely irrelevant if you don't have clients. The assumption that you have clients is great because that, it's a positive thing to assume that you're going to have clients. But the problem is that most agents, don't have any. Right? I mean, it's not that easy. And the reason why it's applicable is because, like with Shivani, with anyone, give me any profession, it always starts out with lead generating. Your doctor, no clients, no business. The people that are successful in their respective businesses are really good at lead generating. Doctors, lawyers, anyone, trainers, people with big gym memberships. No matter how much knowledge you have, and no matter how much knowledge you can impart on somebody, it only matters if they're your client. Shivani and everybody at the gym can't explain to anybody what to do if there's no clients walking in. They might have a bunch of knowledge. They might be certified in every type of health. It's irrelevant. It's a lot of information that you're not going to be able to impart on somebody. Same with real estate. When you're in the real estate business, you go to the schools, you come to the classes, you learn a lot of information, okay? And you're ready to go, but you won't subscribe to the part that's the most important. I have all these people who used to come up to me years and years ago. They used to say, Jay, you know what? I don't get this. You're a lawyer, you're this, you're that. Every time you turn in a deal, the paperwork is so sloppy, it's so bad. You know what? I don't care. Okay? At this, where I was in my firm, regardless of the money that I was making, I was splitting 20% with the firm, the commission. Not the cap, 20% all the way through, forever. For 20%, they can deal with my paperwork, okay? I deal with getting the client, putting the deal together. If they don't like something, if they can't read something, call me on the phone and we'll take care of it. That's not the job. The job is to get the client. No matter how many classes you guys come to, if you're not good at getting clients, you're out of business. And that doesn't mean you're not a good realtor. That means if you're not good at getting clients, you won't be good at anything in sales or any type of profession that requires clientele. How many of you guys know lawyers? Do you guys know lawyers well?
Married to one.
Okay, you're married to one. Okay.
Work for one.
Work for one. Okay.
And one.
What? I am a lawyer. I don't practice anymore. So I'm going to ask you guys this, and maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't. What is the difference between an associate and a partner?
It's a big difference.
What's the difference?
Partner gets paid good money.
Okay, but why?
Because he earns a part of the share of the firm.
Why?
He worked hard to get there.
And what is
Long
work?
hours.
Exactly. But do you think that the partner that works the associate that works the hardest is the one that makes partner, or is it the associate that brings in the most business?
The associate that brings in the most business.
Okay. And what do you think that the partner who brings in all that business does with it? He assigns it to the associate. Okay? The associate that's great at it, who knows it all, who knows every law, knows every freck rule, knows everything. There's only one small problem with the whole thing. That person can't bring in any business. That person, that Harvard lawyer, Yale, Princeton, GW, whatever, that person knows the law inside and out. If they can't source business, they will never, ever make partner. Ever. I have plenty of friends who are smart, who are not partners. I have plenty of friends who are book smart, no, but great at bringing in business. These guys are multimillionaires, okay? Because they know that without them, the firm implodes. There is no business to assign to the clerks, to the this, to the that. You have to bring in the business. If you can't bring in business, none of any of these classes mean anything. You have to do it. I know John wanted to say something.
I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Is that okay? It's my first Get Real class.
Yeah. This is all.
All right. It's hard to be in the back of the room.
It's hard to be in front. I'm usually sitting in the back hiding.
You're great. You're doing a great job. So I just had a huge aha as Jessica was talking. Jessica worked in a law firm, and you asked her what the difference between a partner and an associate was, and she answered the question honestly. And what clicked for me was I knew exactly where you were going, right? In the legal profession, they're called rainmakers. They make it rain, right? It's the same thing that we have in real estate. Jason's a rainmaker. He makes it rain for his team. And we think that our number one job is to sell real estate, just like we think that the attorney's number one job is to litigate, or whatever it is you attorneys do, law stuff, right? I don't even know what to call it, right? They whatever it is they do.
They make motions.
Yeah, whatever. It's not their number one job. Their number one job is to make it rain. is to create opportunity. The individuals who end up becoming partners are the ones who are great at lead generation. Morgan & Morgan, they're on the west coast of Florida. You guys probably hear their commercials, right? Morgan haven't practiced law for 20 years. They make $1 billion a year, and they have hundreds of associates that they disperse leads to. But Morgan & Morgan have one job: make it rain, and they're really good at it. It's just interesting to me, and you were mentioning new real estate agents. There's agents that have been in the business for 20 years who don't get this, Jason. You know that, who don't understand that their number one job is to create opportunity.
Well, here's the thing, and this is why, part of the reason that I had talked to John and I had talked to Alan about doing this class was because a lot of the classes and a lot of the course content that you guys learn is very specific. I wanted to bring something where, of course, the name of the course is Get Real, but just to really make sure that agents kind of backtrack and focus on what's very important. Yes, you're going to understand the nuances in and day out of the business, but as it applies to any business, the metric is bring in business. As it applies to the Hive, you got to bring in clients. Wouldn't it be nice for the 10 trainers at the Hive if 300 people walked in and Andy's biggest job was trying to divvy up who to give these clients to versus how to get the client? How to get the client is the harder part. How to keep the client is another, the retention side of it. So I'm going to give you guys the definition. All right, so this is what it is. All right, and if you're not able to cultivate customers, then you should literally spend every waking hour just working on that. Literally. Don't worry about anything else, because the truth of the matter is there are over 300 people in this particular office that if you bring in a deal and don't know how to do it, they will help you. What they won't be able to do is tell you how to get the client. Every one of them will be an expert on what to do once you have it. All right? So what I'm saying is if you really want to change your life and put yourself on the path to major success within this industry, then the way to do that is to be part of that 10% or less of the people that actually create opportunity. The rest of it will take care of itself. If you walked in and said to anybody, do you think if you walked in and said to John, look, I have this buyer that wants to put a $10 million offer, I don't even know what contract to use, that he's not going to show you exactly in 3 seconds what contract to use and how to write it up? It'll be done in 30 seconds. Literally. That is not the hard part. The hard part is sourcing a $10 million buyer. So, how are we going to lead generate? I'm going to ask you first, and it's a yes or no answer. And everybody can answer it. If I say to you guys right now, in your heart of hearts, now obviously day one, guys, 2 weeks, I don't expect the answer. If I'm asking you as a seasoned or even not so seasoned agent, do you lead generate? Do you? Do you?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes. Yes.
Not yet.
Okay. Do you, Shivani, do you think trainers lead generate?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, although I need to improve.
Okay. And keep going.
Yes, although I also need to improve. But more so than I ever have.
Okay.
For sure.
Shirley?
A little.
Okay. So now let's take it sorry, Melissa.
What am I? Why do you leave?
I totally skipped me too.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Blurt it out.
I need to improve.
Okay.
I do lead gen, yes.
Okay, so now let's take it a step further, all right? One more question and then we're going to get into this. For those that said they did, do you do it every day?
Yes.
And how often do you do it throughout the day? Is it 10 minutes? Is it an hour? Is it all day? What is it?
It depends.
Really? I'm not judging. I don't care.
Depends. It
Okay.
depends. So, an hour in the morning tonight, I'm going to a networking get together with a group of people. So,
And you do this every day?
well, I don't network in the evening every
Right.
day. No.
But you lead generate every day?
Yes.
For an hour a day?
No, more.
More?
Yes, 2 hours.
Okay, anybody else? Whoever said they lead generate, let me hear the time frame of this.
2 hours.
Anyone else?
I mean, I lead gen every day, all day. Like whatever I'm doing, I'm asking for business.
Right, okay.
Whether it be in the store or at Publix.
Right, right. I imagine that's true.
Yes.
In a good way. I imagine that's true. I do the same thing. We do it for different reasons. You do it because you're a rock star. I do it because I have this fear of missing out. I got a problem like that. I explained this to the group last time. I do not like to know that I could potentially lose out on business. So in an effort to quell that fear, I'll interject, even if I know there's no shot. Because I would rather leave. If I leave thinking that I lost out on an opportunity, that will bother me for a week. Anybody else?
So I think, almost too energetic. While in Staples, I talked to the young lady who was helping me and found out that she's renting. Okay, good. So she's gonna wanna buy a house, and she said yes. And so she explained I asked her how far she was into her lease, got her phone number. I realized I still wanted to get her email, but another customer came up, and so I was like, hey, can I get your email too? So she was like, call me, and I was like, okay, and I was like, I'm being too hyper, and I'm like, I don't wanna, so that's what I struggle with sometimes. I met a couple of people this weekend while traveling. It was easier because we captivated captive audience because we were sitting on a plane.
Right.
But I realized that where sometimes I can naturally be calm, but because I'm energetic and approach things, sometimes with high intensity, and I didn't even realize it because of applying it to sales, it's a little bit different. I was like, oh, I might be this person. I don't want to be.
Yeah, but that comes in time, and that's a whole nother 70 hours of scripts and role play to figure out how not to come across salesy or whatever. But for those of you that are saying that you do lead generate, Scott, did you say you did?
Yeah.
How often?
5 days a week.
How often?
Up to 2 hours. And I say that because I have a coach, and we're working on. I have many opportunities through many sources and ways to have conversations. I'm working on being more intentional with speaking about business.
Okay.
Just having those conversations.
Right. Okay. So, and I'm never going to leave you out again because the wrath was too crazy.
Well, when I'm out and about, I always wear my name tag, so I guess I'm getting stopped and I'm
That's good.
saying people's names and I'm calling around, texting family, especially family that I have not spoken in a while that I don't want to speak to. I've been calling and I just got to get to picking up the phone and start calling little fist bumps and
Okay. AJ, are you lead generating?
Yeah, I lead generate whenever I have a conversation with somebody.
How often is that?
I mean, if I put a time frame on it, it'd probably be 2 to 3 hours a day.
Okay,
But sporadically throughout the day.
All right, so, and I would say I'm more kind of, if there is a way to define it, I'm kind of like Melissa in the fact that I never really feel settled as far as my lead generating. I'm always figuring out how to create an opportunity for myself or somebody else. But lead generating for me is a little bit different. because, and I'm not going to even take the time to do this now because I want to be mindful of your time, but people look at lead generating, everybody looks at it differently. And everybody looks at it with a different sense of urgency. My sense of urgency when I'm lead generating with somebody is not to have them say yes right away. My lead generation with somebody is to further the conversation. I have the ability to wait it out and to cultivate the relationship. It's not always going to hit right that second. All right? John had the ability to wait it out when he contacted me 3 years before I joined KW. Okay? The difference between lead generating and lead generating to win is following up, which nobody does. But that's another topic. All right? But so there's a couple, I'm going to just keep it really simple right now, especially because there's a lot of new people here. There's a couple really good ways to lead generate. There's a, yeah.
Before you move on to the next slide,
yeah.
Can I say something?
Sure.
You didn't ask me if I lead generate, by the way. Totally left out back.
Oh, I keep leaving someone out. This is a free-for-all. Blurt out. Yell. Jay, stop. All right, John, go ahead.
17 years, every single day. My definition of lead generated is I don't stop until I've scheduled 3 appointments. So what I wanted to say, though, was for everybody in the room that gave themselves a score on the rate yourself of less than a 10, which is everybody, path to 10, yeah, you're just goofy. The path to 10 is right there. Everything is either lead generation or it's lead conversion. Those are the only 2 conversations that will get you to a 10.
Good to go?
I'm done.
Can I ask a little question that's been keeping me up at night? When your first 6 months, you said you sold 1 house, and then you said you proceeded to lose your job and then sell 60.
60 in the next 6 months.
Can you just explain that just a little bit? That.
Yeah. Well, not really, because I don't want to take up any more of Jay's time than I already have. I'm just going to tell you that anything is possible when you have to do it.
When your why is bigger than.
When you have to do it, you'll figure it out.
When it hurts.
Yeah.
When you're bleeding, you gotta stop the bleeding.
When it's, I've got a 5-year-old and a 6-month-old at home. My wife isn't working. We have a mortgage payment and car payments and bills to pay, and I am not going to let my children live in the street and go without food to eat, and I have to make a certain amount of money in order to survive, and in order to make that amount of money, it's going to take 60 homes I have to sell. I'm going to do it.
Gotcha.
That's it.
So you just figured it out from there.
That's it.
We talked about it tonight. Should have stayed.
Yeah, I should have stayed, man. Screwed up. All right, so for those of you guys that have no contacts, are new to the business, move from a different place, small network of people, this is an option. And if you see the bottom, my commentary on the bottom, this is probably instills more fear in more people. And there's a reason why. We'll probably go over the hour, but if you guys have to go, it's fine. It's not that many more slides, but there's a reason why this instills fear. First of all, it's outside of probably 99% of everybody's comfort zone. Second of all, it's extremely uncomfortable if you have no idea what to say, which is probably why you should show up every day for the only other class I highly recommend that you attend every single day, which is now called group coaching, I think. Because if you actually knew what to say, you probably wouldn't mind getting on the phone. Because you have to know that if you know what to say, and you're calling somebody that's not a real estate professional, even if you're day one, you know more than them, right? We can all agree on that, right? Right, okay. No, even if they say they know more, we know that they don't. It's the doctor that is day one, right, that just graduated, that is an MD, knows more than everybody that has ever been on Google about that particular thing, right? I mean, can we agree? We know this. You might look at, but believe me, you know more than everyone. You know more than everybody. If you and that's the confidence part. That's the mindset part. You guys don't think you know anything. You definitely know more than everybody that hasn't been through Gold Coast or wherever. They might have sold a few houses. That doesn't make them an expert. That makes them an emotional seller or buyer. That's it. Somebody who has a transaction or a rep under their belt. That doesn't make them a professional at anything. So when you get the idea behind understanding how to talk to somebody, that mindset, that will give you the confidence to actually control the conversation and be able to get on the phone so that you can make 3, 4, 5 phone calls, set the appointments that John is saying, and not let yourself off the hook until you have X number of appointments set. Okay? Now that's one option. Do I do that option? No. Have I done that option? Plenty. I mean, boiler room type stuff. Before the do not call list, where threats were real. I'll kill you if you call me again. Do not call or not. There's no federal do not call list. I'll come to your house. I'll find where you are. That type of stuff. This is so... You guys have it easy now because a lot of this is for sale by owners, expireds. Yes, they don't want to talk to you, but they definitely already raised their hand. They have something to sell. They want to sell something. It's not that much of a cold call because they already have a product. This person is pissed off because he hasn't sold it or she hasn't sold it. They certainly don't want to talk to the 90 agents that are calling them, but at the end of the day, they want to sell something. You're not calling somebody out of the blue hoping they have something to sell. That hurdle's already been handled. You're calling people that have not been able to get something done that they want to get done. If you know how to weave that conversation, it's really easy to get somebody that is just pounding the table no out of frustration for 30 seconds to convert that to actually a normal, real conversation. Doesn't take that long. Because, everybody's aversion when you pick up the phone for a cold call is no. The trick to this type of lead generation is not to get them to list, it's just to get them to be on your side for 5 seconds so that they know that you're not against them. You're not an adversary. You're just trying to help them. Once they get past that hurdle, the rest of the conversations are pretty free-flowing, and you'll actually be able to call somebody back. You'll actually be able to add somebody to an email database without spamming them. You'll say to them, can I add you? Can I let you know what I'm up to? Those are much easier conversations. You just have to get past the first little bit. It's like when you guys get a phone call from somebody you don't know, it's not that great. I mean, I look at my phone, while we are sitting here, my phone is probably rang 50 times on silent. Okay, I'm seeing it all. If I don't recognize the number, I don't answer it. Let it go to voicemail. I'll call these people back. If you got a call from somebody you didn't know, and it was anyone, charity, this, that, are you really that? Is your mindset on wanting to be like friendly with that person? You're very guarded. Now, if it gets a minute or two into it, and they actually say something that makes you inquisitive, then they've jumped that hurdle. Now you're actually into the conversation mode. If you can get somebody into a conversation mode, you're done. You're good. Most of the agents that call people for sale by owners, expire, cannot get anybody to a conversation. Why did you call me? Oh, I'll never do it again. Sorry, that's it. That's the end of the conversation. Don't ever call here again. I'm on the do not call list. That's the end of it. You're the 19th caller, you're the 19th person that called me, and instead of overcoming the objection, they just hang up the phone. This is basically what goes on all day long. If you could actually figure out 3 sentences to get past that, you probably get the listing. The only way you don't get the listing is if they go back to their original agent. That's the only way. Because nobody gets past that.
Can I just add that if, when we're making these phone calls, if we just change our mindset when calling these physicals or for sale by owners, the mindset should be, it's not, I'm just gonna get this listing, that's all I'm focused on right now when I call this person. It should be, I'm gonna gain this relationship.
Right.
That should be your focus. And when you get there, just focus on the relationship, and everything else is just gonna flow through.
Right. And I agree with that. And so I'll take that a step further, and I'll say when I speak to somebody that I don't know, maybe it's a cold call, maybe, it could be a warm lead, anything. My goal is to add that person to the database in a meaningful way. I don't know what kind of business they want to do. I don't know if they have something to sell, something to buy, anything. My goal with them is to alert them to what I do, what my team does, what I'm about. Can I include you in my database so that periodically you can receive a few things from me and I can keep you on the radar, you can keep me on the radar. If I can get that kind of buy-in, I don't care if they do business now or 10 years from now. They're going to do business. Okay, so the idea is to cultivate the relationship. Everybody that is, what you're going to unfortunately see in the business is a ton of desperation. All right, when there's a ton of desperation, that peaks through phone calls. That comes through tonality. You call somebody and you're desperate, I don't have a listing, that comes through. That type of stuff seeps through, and anybody on the other end of that phone call can figure that out. You can't come from, I don't have a listing, you need to list with that type of conversation. The conversation has to be much more genuine. All right, so you have to be mindful of how you're talking to somebody, what you're actually trying to get to. What Melissa's trying to get to is the relationship. What I'm trying to get to is just buying enough for me to come across their email or drip or whatever 1,000 times a year until they unsubscribe from me and just send some kind of crazy threat. But that's fine. If I can convert 50% of just people that are willing to listen to what I have to say, and just know that I'm in the business, that's enough. When I meet people, here's the validation. Here's how I know what I do works. I'll run into somebody who I haven't seen in 10 years. I don't do any print media, 0. And they'll still say, I see your stuff everywhere. That's not my stuff. That's emails, that's little things, because they're getting it. It's just constant little reminders. Jay's in the business. Jay sells this. Jay sold that. You know what? If I need somebody, I'll call him. He's a guy I could call if I have a problem. Even if I'm not renting, I'll take the call. That's what you want to be. You want to be that connector, that person, all right? So the next one is what I do mostly, the one-on-one, okay? The one-on-one is the key thing for me because as you can see, even if this room had 0 people in it, when the 50 calls came in, I wouldn't have answered it because I hate the phone. So I'm usually doing one-on-ones, which is I meet with people I literally meet with at least one person every single day for coffee, for anything. I don't meet for lunch because, if you guys know, if you guys have listened to me before, I don't like spending an hour and a half that's just crazy. I spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes having coffee with somebody, and then if I like where it's going, you can always have a second cup of coffee and expand the conversation. If I don't like where it's going, okay, we had a cup of coffee, great, whatever. That's the perfect...
That makes sense why we just had a cup of coffee.
Huh? But... Melissa's first... Melissa's first and last time at Get Real. Okay. No, but if you remember, we ended up having a couple cups.
Yes.
Right. What happened? No. But I did not. Can you see how you can tailor those types of conversations to either lead to something, or it's just a gratuitous cup of coffee? Hey, if you need anything, it's very simple, but it's lead generating all day. Every call I get is lead generating, whether it's from an agent, whether it's from the dog sitter, anybody I am opening up this conversation with about if there's even a remote possibility, of interjecting something real estate related, I will. All right? And even if there isn't, I'll find something that is important to them. And I will make sure to follow up in regards to that. That's how I stay relevant, even if it has nothing to do with real estate. If you can become a connector for somebody and provide them with information that they need, that's just as valuable, which is what I really spend most of my day doing. If somebody called me and asked me for a roofer, that has nothing to do with me. They're not selling their house, they just have a leak. If I could hook them up with a roofer, you understand the value in hooking them up with a roofer. It's not that they're going to list with you and all that. Here's the value, just so you understand. The value of providing them with the roofer's name is in the follow-up. The follow-up keeps you relevant, okay? So here's what's going to happen when I hook somebody up with a roofer or anything. I'm going to go back to that client and say, did you contact the person? Yeah, okay. Were they good? Were they bad? Listen, I knew you needed somebody in a hurry. Here, hopefully they did right by you. Then I'm going to call the roofer back. Hey, how did it go? Happy I could refer you a client. Create that sense of obligation the other way. So I'm going to continue to pound both. Okay, so that's two. I have nothing to do with this transaction except just connecting these people. Now, if the roofer did a good job, do you think the person's happy? And do you think if the roofer got the job and now that person's going to refer him other jobs, that the roofer's really happy?
Yes.
Right. So now you have two people that are basically in your corner. Okay, they're grandstanding for you. He got me, my roof doesn't leak anymore, my kids aren't screaming, the roofer's happy, he's got a new lead, he's going to get referrals from the person. I have nothing to do with this other than the fact that I had 78,000 contacts in my phone, 5 of which are roofers, and I was able to connect one with. That took me 18 seconds to do and about 3 minutes on the follow-up. And those are two people that are in my corner that I have referred business to. Okay? So the one-on-one is not the 15-minute phone call, the 15-minute coffee. The one-on-one is the coffee and then figuring out how to go back and make it count with these people. All right? So when people say, what are you doing all day? Believe me, I'm lead generating all day long. Every day, all day long, I'm lead generating. This little loom thing that I have in front of me is kind of taping me right now, so I shouldn't even say this, but I'm going to say it. The actual real estate is incidental to the whole thing. The deals that people are calling me about all day long, how's my deal going? How's this going? How's the inspection going? Those are all incidental to the day. Like, I have ongoing deals right now. That's not the focus. The focus is not on the deal. The focus is on the lead generating. Okay? When somebody calls me and says, what's going on with the inspection? What's going on with the appraisal? It's out of my control. It is whatever's going to happen is going to happen. If something negative happens, I'll figure out how to solve it. Appraisal comes in low, I'll figure it out. Inspection comes in bad, I'll figure it out. Those are all incidental. Lead generate. Lead generate, keep lead generating. One more little topic. Who networks? What do you guys think of networking? What do you like about it?
Meeting people.
Okay. Does it work?
Yes, sometimes.
What is your definition, anybody, of networking?
It depends on the kind of networking. So, the earlier part of the week, don't laugh. Monday morning, earlier in the morning, I got together with a group in my Heron Bay neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Women's Gardening Club.
Fantastic.
So, it's a bunch of older people who get together and they talk about their horticulture and what they do. And so, again, I live in the same neighborhood, and so I met with them, and it's coffee and it's cake, and they
Right.
talk about their stuff, and I kind of get in there and tell them what I'm doing for a living, and yes, then I got their information, what subdivision do you live in, and what subdivision do you live in, and just kind of put myself out there. So that was, a lot of these women that are now widowed are eventually, probably sooner than later, they're not going to want to live in a big house anymore.
Right.
So it's kind of
So here's what I think about networking, and I would say that if you know me, I can network with anybody. I don't love networking. I'm more introverted when it comes to what I want to do. Like, I'd rather stay at my house and entertain privately than go out and network and do all that type of stuff. But I can, at least according to my DISC profile, I can adapt and I can network with anybody. Okay, but the reason why I brought it up is because there is a big difference between what some people look at as networking and what other people look at as networking. Okay, so what you have to figure out is what type of person you are, and that will really help you network. And I would suggest to you guys that there are lots of different personalities in the room, and there's no right personality. But in order to network really effectively, you have to understand what type of person you are, and then you'll understand what you need to do at any networking event you go to. Okay? So I'm going to give you guys like the typical list of what basically accounts for the majority. All right? So, and you guys can read this. I don't need to read it. And remember, this is all, this will be made available online. But what you need to do is you need to figure out who you are, and then you need to know what you're going to do to interject into those conversations. Everybody's different. We're not all the same. You know, I mean, so does anybody just want to, I know we're going a little long, but it's almost over. Does anybody want to kind of decide in front of everybody who they are as far as these definitions go? Or just say, hey, look, this is the type of person I am. And then once you know the type of person you are, you'll realize why you might have shortcomings when you network. For instance, I would tell you that the majority of people, the reason why there is not a lot getting done at networking events is because of the second one. Okay? If you're a networker and you go with a closed group of friends, nothing gets accomplished at these things. Nothing. Zero. Okay? Going to a networking event to hang out with people you know is completely moronic.
Beyond the point.
Huh?
Beyond the point.
Jay, can I talk about you for a second there? Because
Right after the word moronic came up? Right, I got it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. I believe the first. Somebody's getting ready to blow up.
Is a bus.
The bus behind him.
Oh, got it. So, I'm not used to being in the back of the room. First event that we went to, family reunion, mega camp, I forget what it was. You had set up meetings with 100 people, different people from all over the country.
It was family reunion, I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, and
That's where I first met Melissa, right? Right, okay.
yeah, right, and it was just the very first time in 17 years of being in this business and 17 years of going to these events every single year that I had never seen anybody do that. And I'm reading this, which from the back of the room is hard.
I try to fit it all on one page, that's why.
Yeah, and under the clinger tip, set a small goal of meeting 2 to 3 new people at the event. Ask your friends, and that's exactly what you did. What typically happens, guys, when you go to these events is you'll have 10, 15, 20 people from the office that go to these events, and if you've ever watched 5-year-olds play soccer, it's the ball and a group of kids, and they just move around the field like this. And that's what it looks like at these events. You have 10, 15 people from one office, and they do everything together. They go to a class together, they eat together, they go out together, and they never talk to anybody else. But you guys see each other every day, back at the office. Go hang out with somebody else. And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, but Jason, how did you overcome that?
Because that's not who you are. You don't like people.
Well, okay, but so I love that this is all being taped. I'm a moron and I hate everyone. I got it. Okay.
And real estate doesn't matter.
Right, real estate doesn't matter.
Because I feel like when I invite people to come networking with me, they just want to stick to me, and it's just the same thing. And I love meeting people, and I'll go around, but it's like I have the same 2 people right on my hips. Like, I'm a high D. Like, I just want to get to the point, and I want to meet people. Like, how do you overcome that? Like, how do you set yourself up to go networking and it be powerful the way you did at family?
Well, what happened with me is there was a couple things. Number one is that I didn't have the benefit of really being entrenched in a group because I was so new to this group. The other thing is that I was looking online, and there were all these family reunion Facebook groups starting and all this, and I just started kind of looking to see who I wanted to network with in different locations, and then just saying, can we meet for coffee? There were agents, because I wanted to get this done in such a efficient manner. There were agents that I made plans with at family reunion, and our plan was to grab coffee in the line before we walked into the seminar. Yeah. It was that easy. Hey, look, I'm going to be there at 8:30. Can you meet me? We'll grab a cup of coffee, talk shop for 10 minutes, and then we'll go in and listen to Gary, or whatever we were doing. That's enough. That's enough, because now there's 10, 20,000 people at family reunion, whatever there are. That's more than any of those guys got being there, okay? 10 minutes with one person from Florida and one person from New York. Now, just so you know how meaningful these things are, I met that girl for 15 minutes. She was from Brooklyn, all right? The next week, she sent me this 300-pound package from Carnegie Deli to my house of like pastrami, everything you can imagine, all right, from that one meeting. Just to say, look, let's keep this going. Because, and then you have these relationships, real relationships, not just, can I get your card? You can ask John this. For the first year, I didn't even have a card. Because I'm not a big fan of cards, because I don't like giving them out, because I don't think people will use them. I'll use them. I'll get your card and I'll follow up with you. Cards are only relevant if you follow up. If I collect 6,000 cards and nobody ever calls anybody, what good is it? You're going to really rely on 90% of the realtors out there to call you back? Please.
What kind of questions are you asking when you're meeting with these other agents, like the girl from New York?
So the girl from New York, I basically started out the conversation by saying, look, I have a lot of contacts in New York. Obviously, I'm not going to do any business in New York. I don't really know a lot about what goes on in Brooklyn and Lower Manhattan and all these places. I'd love to have a connect up there, somebody I actually met and know. And, you know, this would be great. We met, we had the coffee, we connected. It wasn't somebody I wanted to blow off 4 minutes later, because it's not like there's a shortage of agents, right? So once we connected, we stayed in touch. I've seen her at multiple events, multiple mega camps, multiple KW luxury events, all those types of things. I've referred her business up there. She just did a rental for me because the rentals are a lot more prevalent up there. You know, I had a client, perfect scenario, okay? Everyone says, oh, you only do luxury. I do everything, everything. I don't care if it's a $500 rental, I'll do it because it's more about the client than the price. I had a client, my clients just sold a house in Davie for $1 million. They bought in Auberge in Fort Lauderdale. Their daughter lives in New York. She needed a rental. She lives in Brooklyn. This was the easiest thing in the world. Jay, I don't trust speaking to any of these agents out there. We don't go to New York. My daughter needs a rental. She wants to stay under $2,000 a month. Who do you have for me? This took me 35 seconds. Now, does she want the rental? Is it great money? Probably not, but it's a great contact of a bunch of 20-something millennials that are all going to need apartments in the next 3 years, you know? So, I mean, it was easy and it got done. You know, so these are the easiest things in the world. I know we don't have a lot of time to go through this, but I would encourage you to kind of figure out where you are on this list or even create your own list. Because the thing about me, and the reason why you were asking me about the idea of, well, how do you do that if you're the type of person that really doesn't like people? Okay, so I'll tell you how. Yes, that's true. Yes, I would more likely like to stay on my patio with my dogs. However, that fear of missing out overcomes all of that. Right. That's the issue. Right. Like that part trumps everything. So like if I even think there's an opportunity and I don't take it, that one little missed opportunity will probably cause me to need therapy for like 1.5 years.
Right. I feel your pain. I get that.
Right? So I feel like even if I don't get the opportunity, I tried, and it probably cost me like, I saved $15,000 on the medical. All right, so what did I do here? All right, so you have to know what type of person you are, right? And the venue is the most important part. This is the part everybody misses. All right? And I know you guys are going to be like, what does that have to do with anything? Because I'm a big proponent that when you go to a venue, and I want you'll think about this now and you'll be like, okay, now I understand what he's saying. How many of you guys go and network, and the network is go to this bar and grab a drink and grab an appetizer and hope something happens? That is by far the worst type of networking you can do. If that's what you guys are talking about as far as networking, then we have a different definition of networking. That is not my definition of networking. Networking in that scenario is basically networking with people who are there for the same reason that I assume most people show up to brokers' opens and everything else, for the food. Not to get business done. Not to cultivate relationships. To grab a drink And this is why I say, I don't know what I do with this. I'm just not great with this stuff. So where should you guys focus? Where do you think the best networking occurs? Anybody have a clue? There's going to be no wrong answer. Because before I put this slide up, it was probably the bar or whatever. But that's not the place.
Events.
Events are pretty good. So I'm telling you right now that if you guys don't do anything else, if you do no networking, even if you just went to the KW events, that would burn your business more than going out every Friday night to a bar, to a happy hour, to a this, to a that. Because here's the thing. You have to figure out why you're going to the event. And not only why you're going to the event, why everybody else is going to the event. Okay? So basically, you have to look at that, is it the third sentence? Kind of like what I said when you're on the phone. My goal is not to get the now business. My goal is to cultivate the relationship. The networking is secondary. The relationship part of it is the key. Okay? Here it is. Like, you know, people go and they're going there for the food, the alcohol, to meet somebody. You know how I talked to you guys about being a vacationer. I don't know if you guys remember that, about going because you have nothing better to do. Like, that's not where you want to go. You want to go to events where everybody's there for a shared thing. Now, if you go to events like that, everybody's goal is similar. They want the similar things, okay? Everybody who attends chooses to attend because they care about some shared value. If you can get to an event where everybody has shared values, charities, things. Now, here's the reason why it's important. You know, when you go to an event and everybody's networking, but there's no common shared interest, okay? There's still an icebreaker. There's an icebreaker. You have to explain who you are, why you're there. That's a hurdle. Okay? When you go to an event where everybody is there for some common theme, you're already there. You already know why everybody's there. Okay? It's much easier to talk to somebody about that commonality first. That kind of is the icebreaker. All right? And so what happens is, if you're able to go to these events, instead of it being like an hour or an hour and a half and everybody's got to go somewhere and everybody's got a babysitter to get to and it becomes much less personable when you go to these little events. When you go to a networking event where it's an actual conference or a seminar, like a mega camp, like a family reunion, where you have days to spend there and really cultivate relationships, that's where you can really get paid, where you can really make things happen with people, because they're able to separate people that are just in it to want something versus genuine people that want to cultivate relationships. And that's why I'm a big proponent and why I always go to these things. I go to these things. Of course you want to learn from Gary and all these things, but you go because you want to meet a lot of different people that will somehow turn up later and help you in business. Wish I knew how to operate this. So I wrote this. The great benefit of an event that spans a few days is that you have multiple opportunities to meet people. You run into people, you start building relationships. You don't have to grab a business card and send them an email and maybe see them a few days later. You can see them the next day or at another session. Or you can run into them in the hallway of a hotel like I did with Linda McKissick, who makes $1.6 million in profit share a year. Here's the difference on saying you attended a 1-hour event where Linda was talking versus what happened to me as a result of going to an event in Sarasota or something, okay? So I was invited to speak on a panel in Sarasota. Sorry, Cassidy. Here's what happened. They asked me if they could fly me out to Sarasota. I said, you don't have to fly me out. I'm happy to drive. I drove. I didn't really want to stay because, as I've shared with you all, I'd much rather be at home with my family and my dogs and my kids or whatever. But I did agree to go one night. So I drove up, stayed the night, and then I was going to bolt out after the conference. What I didn't anticipate was that the conference was all day and I had luggage. So before I was about to go up on stage, Dick Dillingham pointed out to me that I might want to just go upstairs and grab my bags before they threw me out of the room and all this other stuff. Not them, like the hotel, you had to get out by 11. And the conference was going till like 5. So I said, do I have time? He said yes. I went up, I grabbed my luggage out of the room. When I came back downstairs, I did not want to take my luggage through the entire 2,000 people seminar, so I tried to go in through a side door because I didn't want to bother anybody, because there were people on stage giving their speeches or doing their panels or whatever. So I waited with my luggage until somebody opened the door. The person that opened the door was Linda McKissick. She walks out of the door. I had met her the night before for 5 minutes. Not that meaningful. 5 minutes, everybody wanted to talk to her. You make $200,000 a month for doing nothing, for not doing nothing, but this passive income, $100,000, $200,000 a month, passive. Check in the mail every month, okay? So people were obviously gravitating towards them at night, asking them what the secret is. I had 5 minutes of meeting her for the first time that night. The fortuitous situation that I found myself in the hallway with my luggage only occurs because I go to the event. I ended up talking to Linda McKissick for an hour. All right? An hour in the hallway. This is what you should be doing. This is what you shouldn't be doing. How valuable is that?
No price.
And I wasn't holding her up. She was leaving the meeting, going to grab a cup of coffee, and we just kind of like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It was working. We were having a good time. She was imparting some wisdom with me. She could have easily said, listen, Jay, we're done here. Go back in, take your luggage. But she kept pouring in. She's a nice person. We got along. She was explaining things to me. Those are the types of opportunities that you are going to get by going to these types of events. Because the more times you spend going to events like that, meeting people that actually genuinely care about your business, you don't look at networking as the person that you're going to be trying to network with is the person that's going to do business with you. That's not what's going to happen. The person that you network with is you're going to cultivate the relationship with, and they're ultimately going to be talking about you so that they can refer you business. That person, if they do business with you, that's a one-off. That's like listing a home in a magazine and somebody coming in and buying that home. That's not what usually happens. What usually happens is you list a home in a magazine and somebody sees the home and says, I like the way that was marketed, I'm going to list my house with you. Not, I want to buy that house. The chances of somebody buying that house are less than 1%. Less than 1% from that ad. Same thing in networking. The chances of you doing business with that person, probably not that great. But that person leaving that conversation saying, you know what, that person was intelligent, I need to keep them in mind. And if anybody has any questions about real estate, this is the person that I want at the top of the list. That's what you're going after.
It's so important also to realize and be aware that it's not the intended, it's not getting that information from family reunion, just being aware of other opportunities. I went to the mega camp last spring in Boca and thought I had signed up for the technology part in the morning. So So I got there in the morning and I realized that I didn't. It wasn't part of the package that I had purchased. So that sucks, right? So I sat in the lobby, right? And as I'm watching the lobby, I'm seeing people with their rollerboards and whatnot. So I'll make it short. Similar situation to you. Because I missed out on that technology and I just sat myself in the lobby to do some more work, I got to speak to Diana Kokoska. She went by and said, hey, how are you? You know, and then the next time I saw her, I was able to, you know, ring back and just say, hey, I saw you at the mastermind. Wasn't it great? Tony Giusello walked by as well. I said hi to him, introduced myself and whatnot. So opportunity came from something unintended and what at first seemed like a letdown. Just be open to where that conversation goes and where a missed opportunity turns into actually.
So this is what we've learned. In case I want to just be really clear, it will always be about lead generation. I hope that's not a turnoff for you guys because that's what the job is. There are infinite ways to lead generate. We talked about 3. There's probably a billion. Okay, you can do it any way you want, but you have to do it. You got to do it consistently. You got to do it every day. There is no other way to succeed in any business. Any business. This is not like, oh, you know what? I don't know if real estate's for me. I really don't feel comfortable lead generating. In any business, you will have to lead generate. Be smart about how you lead generate. Quality is much better than quantity. Making 20 calls where somebody says, I hate you, is not better than making one where you have a meaningful conversation. So don't let anybody get in your head about the idea of you need to make 20 calls. You need to connect with, no. You need to connect with just one person. If you're connecting with 0, connect with 1. And just really own the fact that you're in the business of lead generating. You're not in the business of selling houses. You're not in the business of any of that. You're in the business of lead generating. And the reason why you're in the business of lead generating is because if you master the business of lead generating, you can get any job, anywhere. Anywhere. People pay big money for people that know how to lead generate. Zillow's job is to lead generate. That's why they charge all the realtors money, because no realtors want to lead generate. Do you want to own this zip code? Sure. We'll sell it to you for $3,000. We'll do all the lead generating. That's what they do. That's their function. Zillow's function is lead generating. Realtor.com's function is lead generating. If you don't think so, ask the person when they call you to sign up for them what their job is. They are selling you zip codes that you could easily be calling yourself, but nobody wants to because it's hard. And because they're afraid, so Zillow will take that onus on them, and they will get all the leads, and they will garner all the leads, and then they will turn around and say, you know what? We will promise you 7 leads for the low price of $2,500 a month, or whatever that number is. And it still may not work out because you still have to have a conversation with these people. And you could have the conversation with those people whether or not you had the zip code or not. I know I kept you guys a half an hour late. I don't know if there's any questions, but I will tell you that if you want to see the podcast, you can go right there. It'll be there later. And feel free to contact me anytime. Sorry we went over, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
have a great Thursday. Thanks.
Are they all up there?
Yeah.